All right, today we're diving into something pretty intense. We're going to run what I'm calling the survivor's gauntlet. It's one of the most brutal, but also one of the most incredible journeys in all of nature. And we're going to see it all through the eyes of a tiny baby sea turtle.
When you look at the ocean, you probably think of peace, right? Calm, beautiful. But what if I told you that just beneath that surface, for some of its tiniest creatures, it's a total battlefield, a place where a desperate race for your life starts the second you take your first breath. So where does our story even begin? Well, it starts deep under the sand. Picture this. For months, a whole clutch of eggs has just been sitting there, incubating in the warmth, totally hidden from the world. And then it happens, a single, tiny crack. And what crawls out, it's just impossibly small. I mean, we're talking no bigger than a ping pong ball. But here's the kicker. Its size isn't even the most vulnerable thing about it. This little guy starts its life with absolutely zero protection. Mom, she's long gone. It is born completely, utterly alone. So the second these hatchlings break through the sand, they have one job, one single instinct screaming in their heads: get to the water. But that journey, which is maybe just a few dozen meters, it's one of the most dangerous treks in the entire animal kingdom. No exaggeration. Yeah, because that beach, it's basically an all-you-can-eat buffet for predators. You've got ghost crabs popping up out of nowhere, seagulls circling overhead like vultures, and then you have foxes, raccoons, even wild dogs just waiting in the dunes. For them, these tiny hatchlings are just the easiest, most defenseless snack imaginable. And the result of all that? It's a truly staggering number. Think about it. For every 10 little turtles that hatch, 6 or even 7 of them will be snatched up before they even feel the first wave wash over them. The vast majority don't even make it to the starting line. But what if the greatest danger isn't a predator with claws or a beak? What if the deadliest obstacle is something we put there? Something that actually hacks their most basic, hardwired survival instinct? Okay, so for millions of years, baby turtles had a foolproof system. They follow the brightest horizon, which was always the moonlight reflecting on the water. Simple, right? Well, not anymore. Now you've got hotels, resorts, streetlights, and all that artificial light is often way brighter. It completely messes with their internal compass. They get tricked, and they start crawling the wrong way, away from the ocean and towards the city. And we all know what happens then: dehydration or worse. So, let's say a few of them make it. Against all those odds, a handful of lucky hatchlings finally reach the water. You'd think, phew, they're safe, right? That this is where the danger ends. Nope. In reality, their struggle has only just begun. The second they hit the water, it's like a whole new level of the game opens up, with a brand new lineup of predators. We're talking giant fish, sharks, barracudas, all just waiting right there in the shallows. And it's not just from below. Diving birds will literally pluck them right out of the water. So this all leads to the big question, right? The central question of their entire life. After surviving the beach, the confusing lights, the predators in the shallows, after all of that, what are the actual real-world odds that a single one of these turtles will make it to adulthood? The answer is, well, it's just devastating. Get ready for this. Scientists estimate that only 1 in 1,000 baby sea turtles will survive to become an adult. Let that sink in. 1 out of 1,000. It's a number that's so small, it's almost hard to even wrap your head around. And, as if those odds weren't tough enough, the dangers that we humans add to the mix, they stack the deck even more against them. These are the unseen predators, the threats that a turtle's evolution just hasn't prepared it for. Take plastic, for instance. The tragedy here is how simple it is. A young turtle is swimming along, it sees a floating plastic bag. To its eyes, it looks exactly like a jellyfish, a major part of its diet. So it eats it. But that plastic, it can't be digested. It just sits there blocking its entire system, and the turtle ends up starving to death, slowly and painfully. And it's not just about eating plastic. Think about fishing nets. Thousands of turtles get tangled up in these nets, especially the ones that get lost or abandoned. People call them ghost nets. And here's the thing you have to remember. Turtles are reptiles. They need to breathe air. If they're trapped in a net and can't get to the surface, they drown. It's that simple. But maybe the sneakiest threat of all is one you can't even see. It has to do with a really fascinating biological quirk that sea turtles have. It's called temperature-dependent sex determination. Basically, it means that for a sea turtle, it's not genetics that decides if it's a boy or a girl. It's the temperature of the sand while it's in the egg. Here's how it works. Cooler sand makes males. Warmer sand makes females. Now, think about climate change. As the planet gets warmer, the beaches get hotter. So what do you get? A massive gender imbalance. We're seeing way more females hatching than males. And you don't have to be a biologist to figure out that in the long run, that's a huge problem for the survival of the entire species. Okay, but let's circle back. Let's talk about that one turtle. The 1 in 1,000, the survivor, the one that actually made it. Its story isn't just about being lucky. It is a testament to incredible resilience, a story about surviving a nearly impossible gauntlet. So after getting through that absolute meat grinder of a start, this young turtle swims way out into the open ocean, and then it just vanishes for about 5 years, sometimes longer. Scientists actually call this period the lost years, because honestly, we have very little idea where they go or what they do. They're just out there, somewhere in the vastness of the sea, growing up. And this right here, is maybe the most miraculous part of the entire story. 20, maybe 30 years later, that one survivor, now a full-grown adult, does something amazing. It uses the Earth's magnetic field, like a built-in GPS system, to navigate thousands of miles across the ocean, right back to the exact same beach where it was born. And it does that to lay its own eggs, starting that impossible cycle all over again. So, the life of a sea turtle, it's a story of nature at its absolute most brutal, but also at its most resilient. But when you realize that so many of the deadliest hurdles are the ones we've put in their way, it leaves you with a really important question. The odds are 1 in 1,000. That's a fact. But those odds aren't set in stone. So the real question is, can we help change the math?